I'm live, sister.
I'm trying to go live.
Live with.
Start live. I flipped the camera sideways. It's rotate your phone. You can't.
Excuse me.
Hold
Sorry.
on. Do.
Bear with us a second. We're fixing, as always, technical difficulties.
I ain't got no technical difficulties.
And we got to give a warning ahead of time. We have a delivery schedule that is supposed to have been here hours ago, and it may show up most likely while we're doing the show. So I'm gonna have to run out of the show and go.
There's a cat whisker.
Accept it. So you'll have to sell it.
Oh, my camera looks horribly crooked. Let's see what it looks like. It looks crooked. Great, thanks.
Well, you keep going. Wait till we get all set up.
Does that look better? Does that look better?
I don't know. I can't see it.
You can see it right there. You Joey?
Oh, I wasn't looking.
I know. That's the problem. Look.
Sorry. What's happened?
All right. I think we're ready. Whoop, whoop.
Okay.
Let me make sure my legs are covered.
And I don't have anything else open on my side, so I'll let you get to the introduction.
We are so crooked on this screen.
Who cares?
I care.
Can
Hi.
you go towards you?
Yeah, just come this way. Come with me. Follow me.
Doesn't matter.
Welcome to this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. Whew, we're going to get this show going.
Somehow, some way.
Thank you so much for watching us right now on YouTube and Facebook, and for sticking with us with all the crazy problems we have. But this is a show from home.
Well, the problem is we're using this little ass table.
Yeah.
And you pulled your camera. Why don't you move your camera forward? Then you wouldn't have that problem anymore.
Should I do that right now?
No. You just get to see my leg now.
Well, put your leg in.
I can't. I'm too big to be sharing a little ass table with you.
Move the table that way. Move the table that way. There. Now stick your leg in.
My leg won't go any
I don't
further
like
in.
when people see my leg. It's on Instagram and the Twitter, so please make sure you go check it out, like it, share, do all those things. It's important because if you do that, then we get free stuff that we can give away.
Or just free stuff to keep for myself.
No, we give a lot of
I know, they give us stuff to give away. We have new contests going. Oh, that's what I forgot to grab it. Dang it. I'm going to grab it. Why don't you, I don't know. We'll just wait. I'll just tell it in a minute.
Okay, that's fine.
So what did you like to talk about first?
We're going to talk about some movies. We've got a lot to talk about.
We have a horror film that I watched. We have a classic film we watched today. And then we've got two new films. One's a dramedy, and one's a fantasy adventure, I guess, if you classify it. So what are you feeling?
Well, let's save that for a while.
Which one?
The dramedy, whatever. Let me go in order in which they are listed.
You want to know about our classic one first?
Yeah, because that was interesting. We just watched it, so it's fresh.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's a movie that I've watched a bunch of times when I was a kid, and if you see it, it's really not an appropriate movie for a kid.
Probably not.
And it's not like it's tons of nudity. There is a little bit of nudity at the beginning. I don't think there's even that much bad language.
Not really. There's some violence.
Yeah, there's a little mild violence. There's tons of alcohol. Like everybody in this movie has a drinking problem.
For sure.
But it's an anniversary edition, 40th anniversary edition. Came out in 1980. Right. Came out in 1980.
But a child. I'm not going to tell you how old, but I was a child.
I had to be about 6 then.
So I've never seen this until today.
Anyway.
Which is surprising.
So it is the John Travolta starring movie Urban Cowboy that Paramount has released. The 40th anniversary edition also stars Scott Glenn, Deborah Winger, Barry Corbin. I don't know who else. John Wayne, Clint Eastwood. No. Anyway, the last two.
Charlie Daniels is in it.
Yeah, it's got
Gilly, Bonnie Raitt, because it's in a country western bar.
It's at Gillies.
And so there's
in Pasadena, which is burned down in 1989, I believe. So anyway. For whatever reason, I watched this movie a bunch when I was a kid, and I always loved it. And I don't really, even rewatching it, I still enjoyed it, but I don't know what appealed to me back then.
Yeah.
Because I've never been a country music fan, but I grew up around it. Both my parents were hardcore country fans. They used to go to this place called the Ranch House with their friends and dance and drink every weekend until it got bought out and became a Hispanic-only club.
Oh.
And then it became Mexican Cowboys.
It became a Tejano club.
Yeah, they was Mexican.
It's still gone.
But then it was all old. Like I think they tried once and it didn't work out. But yeah, so it was really weird, and I don't know if maybe it was a fact of I was trying to understand what my parents were going and doing.
Yeah.
And this was my way of experiencing the dance club because they were doing the dancing and the singing and the drinking. This was my parents' life for a little while, but they weren't doing the bull riding, which is a big point in this film.
Yeah,
but you had never seen this movie.
I had never seen it, which is so surprising because, first of all, I like John Travolta, and I like John Travolta dancing because I like Staying Alive as opposed to Saturday Night Fever. I like Staying Alive. I think it's a better movie than Saturday Night Fever. And so, like, why
Staying Alive is the first one, right?
Staying Alive is the second one. Saturday Night Fever is the first one.
Staying Alive is the one that Stallone directed.
Yes.
Okay, that's the one that bombed.
I know, but I think most people like that movie.
No, they don't.
Okay, all the people I know like that movie, like a bunch of theater
Saturday Night Fever is the one that's the popular one.
Yes.
That's the one that everybody
But I didn't like that one because there's violence against women as well. This one is too.
I know. Yeah, it has a little bit of all of it.
I know.
I mean, you can like a movie and not be supporting violence against women.
Staying Alive is a superior film. But the entire soundtrack's Bee Gees. That's why I love it too.
That makes it even less. Anyway.
Anywho, so I was surprised I hadn't seen this. I'd never heard of this.
Really? Oh, you hadn't even heard of it?
No, you told me Urban Cowboy, and so I started singing Rhinestone Cowboy.
I'm like, no, that's not the same.
That's the other one where
that's
you had the jockey.
The Jockets and Dolly Parton.
I love that one. That was funny.
Stallone. That is another movie I watched a ton of times when I was a kid.
It's so fun.
And it is a horribly bad movie.
Oh, it's funny.
But I think it's hilarious.
That and 9 to 5.
9 to 5.
You just like Dolly.
I guess I do. I didn't realize it. But you know what? I don't think I've ever watched Best Little Whorehouse in Texas because I couldn't watch it when I was a kid. And I don't think I've ever revisited it.
We should watch that.
But 9 to 5 is one of my all-time favorite movies, which is funny because I just didn't even think about it. I just did one of those 10 days of movie posters, and I did not put 9 to 5.
That's so funny.
And it's only because I just forgot about it at the time.
Oh, well.
But I introduced you to 9 to 5. Too.
Yes, so fun. Okay, Urban Cowboy. John Travolta starts riding the mechanical bull, and that becomes his life. And he wants to win first place in the mechanical bull riding contest.
That is not what the whole movie is about.
That is what the whole movie is about.
The movie is about his relationship.
And his relationship with Debbie Winger.
And his manhood and all the things that shouldn't matter in the relationship.
Well, he's a good old boy in Texas. It does become his whole life.
I know, it's his focus. But
that's the problem, is he focuses so much on that it messes up his relationship.
The whole movie starts off is he's come to the big city from the country, which always is a problem for a cowboy. Hence the name Urban Cowboy. But he is kind of trying to find his way. Yeah. And as he finds it, that's the first thing he finds that he's kind of good at. And he enjoys it. And it seems to get him attention. Then he finds him a girl. And everything seems to be going well. And then things stop going well. And it becomes a whole nother drama. So it's really about their love story. But also him trying to find himself. Yeah. You know. Through mechanical bull riding and then conflict.
The interesting thing that this brings to light is the whole macho cowboy thing. We got a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Which we
Corbin gives him, like, sometimes the cowboy's got to suck it up.
Yeah.
You want to get what you want and be a man.
Yeah. You got to.
It's funny. It's kind of relevant for today about the whole idea of manhood, where everything in this was about the man could do this, like to ride the bull, but don't let your woman do it because it's
what was that about?
Thing. And rude. Being controlling, and even when somebody else, was saying that she could do one thing, they still tried to control her in a different way.
Yes,
and it's very. There's a lot of there's not a lot of physical abuse. There is some, but it's mostly like verbal.
Yeah,
but it's also she's also not just a weak character. Mm-mm. She stood up for herself initially. Yeah. But she's kind of broken down because when she's in a secondary abused relationship, you think, why isn't she standing up like she did at first? Because she's so lost from what she lost and what she really wants to get back. Mm-hmm. So she's accepting what she has. Yeah. Because she doesn't want to leave. It's a whole thing that it's such a simple solution, but it's really not.
Yeah, well, and that gets into the whole domestic violence thing. It's very difficult for people to leave because they really don't see that there's just an easy way out to just like walk out the door. But they don't see that, and that you can't blame people. It's their own experience. But I liked it. I'd never seen it before. I loved all the music. That's one thing I totally loved. And you were telling me the entire soundtrack was a hit.
Yeah, the movie was not a hit. And I was reading an article thing about it that was saying that one of the reasons it didn't test well with the youth, because the director was surprised that it didn't test well with younger audiences, like teenagers, I guess. They say because at the time they didn't know what urban meant. but it was also
They
1980.
probably still don't now.
Well, it was 1980, so it was that word wasn't all the time like it is now.
Yeah.
And one of my I'm not a country music fan, but one of my all-time favorite country music songs is "Devil Went Down to Georgia."
Yes.
And I honestly, until today, I never realized where I'd probably heard it the first time. I just assumed because my parents listened to country and I was always around it, that was it. But I'm pretty sure it was this movie because they played the majority of the song in this movie with Charlie Daniels performing it.
Well, because the Devil Went Down to Georgia.
And that was actually one of the albums I shared on one of those things too. Was Charlie Daniels Band was from that album.
Like that.
So, but yeah, it's. So what did you think of the movie itself?
It was all right. I mean, I'm feeling like it was a little.
How dare her?
It was okay. I would watch it again.
No, you're not ever going to see it.
But I'm feeling like it's actually staying alive again.
A lot of people said that.
But in Texas and a country bar.
Yeah.
And the bull riding takes the place of him wanting to make it on Broadway. I mean, it's the same story. Down and out kind of guy trying to fight his way to the top, not treating his woman well when she's trying to support him.
Yeah.
It's the exact same story as Staying Alive. So, and I found it interesting what you were saying. You wish you kind of maybe had seen this before you saw Saturday Night Fever because.
Yeah, I saw this first.
Yeah. Okay. See, and I'd seen the other, so I'm seeing him on the dance floor, and I'm like, oh, I know he can dance.
That's what I'm saying. I'm glad I didn't see him.
I was just waiting for him to bust this thing out.
Honestly, I think I might have been watching Welcome Back, Kotter. And I saw this, but I don't think I probably registered it was the same person at the time as a kid.
Yeah.
Because that's what I had said to her was watching this. I said, had I seen him in that other stuff, because you can see him, he doesn't walk like the cowboy in this movie. He walks like John Travolta.
Like him, with his swag.
Very not country. You know, it's more the disco swag.
He's got swag.
But
oh wow.
A couple of fun facts about the film. One, and in fact, I didn't remember because I don't know if I've ever seen the opening of the movie, apparently. There's the first part, probably 20, 30 minutes of the film, Travolta has a beard.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't remember that. And they said that they wanted him to cut the beard for the movie, but he wanted to keep it. And so they had gone out to eat for dinner with him and the director, and not a single person asked for his autograph because they didn't recognize him, which convinced him to shave the beard. And then the other thing is Scott Glenn, who is the antagonist, if you will. They said he was, in an interview, he talked about, like, back then he was kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And he refused to audition for things. And they said the way he got the part in this movie was he showed up to Gillies when he knew the people were going to be there. And he in full get up. And he walked over to the biggest, meanest looking guy in the bar and told him to get out of his chair. And he said, and luckily the guy actually got up and moved. And he sat down and they gave him the part on the spot.
That's awesome.
So, anyway, so you have anything else about this one?
No, I really liked it. I mean, it was okay. It's not like the greatest movie ever.
No, it's not.
But it's good.
It is dated.
A little bit.
And my God, these people are alcoholics.
Yeah,
there's not a person in this movie that does not have a beer in their hand or drinking somewhere wherever they go, they're pouring themselves a drink.
Like in the morning, it's like all the time. It's sad. I think that's also a lot of their problems. If that wasn't
too much alcohol,
then their lives would not be as difficult and traumatic.
And it's entertaining now being a 2020 and hearing all the, I know people that live in trailers and stuff, and I don't see an issue with it. But there's so many jokes and puns and the stereotypes of the trailer and stuff. Whereas you see this movie, they're like so excited because you got a brand new trailer. Their trailers are nice. My grandmother used to have a trailer on her country property that we'd always go to that I loved going to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to see the polar difference that in a movie now that came out like this and they went to trailer park, it'd be because everybody's poor.
Yeah.
Even though that's not always the case.
No, this was a big deal for them. They thought it was so cool. They're like, oh, you got a trailer?
That's right.
So happy.
So Urban Cowboy, the 40th anniversary edition, is first time on Blu-ray.
How's that 40 years already?
Well, that's what it is. But it's coming out. It just came out this week on Blu-ray from Paramount. It's got some. Hold on, I gotta do my old man glasses. It's got some different outtakes and deleted scenes of rehearsal footage. And Patrick Swayze's mom, Patsy, she taught Travolta the two-step for this, and this was Barry Corbin's first film. So this is an iconic movie for a lot of reasons. If you haven't seen it, check it out. And it's good old young Travolta.
I love me some young Travolta.
All right.
Before he got too weird.
This is Hard Hat Days and Honky Tonk Nights.
That's before he got too weird with the Scientology.
Did you hear me?
Yes. And that weird alien movie, which I actually really
Hold on.
liked.
Which one?
That weird alien movie. The Scientology.
Oh, Battlefield Earth?
Yeah. I liked it.
They may be sending me a Blu-ray of that, so we may be doing a discussion about it.
Oh, I'm so excited.
So listen to this. I'm going to read you the synopsis just because the first sentence is awesome. But the little thing here is what I just said. Hard hat nights, honky tonk night. Hard hat days, honky tonk nights. It says John Travolta is the urban cowboy, breaking hearts and busting mechanical bulls in one of his most electrifying film roles.
Nice. Okay, it's electrifying. It's
featuring a hit soundtrack with musical appearances by Mickey Gilley, Johnny Lee, Bonnie Raitt, and the Charlie Daniels Band.
There you go.
So anyway, check it out. If you've never seen it, check it out. It's a classic.
It's fun.
It is classic.
I can't believe that the 80s was 40 years ago.
Yeah. Oh,
man,
I was born in 74.
Yeah, we're in our 40s.
I'm fixing to be 46.
How did that happen?
I'm already on the uphill or the downhill slope to 50
But the good thing is that we look good. We don't look that old. Because there's some
You
people
do.
who are in their 40s that are looking rough.
You do.
Y'all need some Jesus and sleep.
You think it's Jesus?
Drink some water. No, they need some sleep, some water. Stay out of the sun. That will burn you up.
All right. Well, let me do this. Let me talk about this one.
Yes.
Because in case this thing sometimes I have to leave, you can continue with the other films.
Okay.
Okay, so the next film we're going to talk about, or I'm going to talk about because you didn't get to watch it yet, is a zombie horror flick. It's a comedy of sorts. It's called One Cut of the Dead, and it's a Japanese flick. There's been a few of the comedy zombie movies, with Shaun of the Dead and Juan of the Dead, and this one's in that same vibe. When I watched the first sitting down, I knew of the movie, but I didn't know much about the movie. But I sat down in the first, I want to say 20, 30 minutes of the movie is a single shot thing, like a one shot. And it makes very little sense. It's a movie within a movie, and then zombies, and then death, and then they say cut, and then it starts, and you're like, wait, what? And it's not overly great. It's a cool shot. It's impressive the way they shot it, but it's not funny, and it's not overly terrifying. And I was like, oh no, is this going to work? But then what happens is they go back in time, not literally, but they go whenever before they started shooting that film in the film, and it shows them putting the show together. And it was going to be like a TV show type thing where they wanted to shoot a single take zombie like TV show. And they're hiring this director, and he's like, what? What? No. And so then it's them planning it out and all the actors, and you start understanding their thing. So then the rest of the movie is them shooting that single take thing and all the behind the scenes silly and craziness that is happening to make it work.
Yeah.
So like you have, and it's not slapstick funny, it's like real life funny.
Yeah.
Because like there's one guy who's drunk and they're trying to keep the alcohol away from him, and he gets drunk, and then in the first movie you see him and he pukes like as a zombie in this dude's face, and it's all and it's normal zombie stuff. But then it cuts back to him, he's really puking in the guy's face because he's drunk, and on the ground is the director holding his arm going and holding it back of his head to hold him up because he's too drunk to stand on his own.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
It's really funny, it's really creative, and I don't want to tell you a lot about it because it's one of those you kind of have to see to really enjoy. But what's really interesting about it is the film I read, I did some research on it afterwards. The actors, this is going to shock you, and then it makes sense when I explain it. Most of the actors paid to be in the movie, and the way that works, you're like, what? That's not how getting a job is. That means somebody scammed them. But what it was this movie was the end project of like I don't know if it was like a class or a seminar on film.
Yeah.
And so the end of it, they shot this film, and this whole film was shot in like 8 days.
Oh wow!
So they shot it. It was the class that the people that had taken that class shot the movie.
This was their project.
They finished the project or the seminar or the class or whatever they were doing, and this was that end result.
That's cool.
They also have a bonus feature on here that's an entire cut of, I don't know if it's the whole film or if it's just the one shot part of it, on the GoPro. So you can watch the GoPro version as well as the regular version.
That's fun.
And it's like an hour and a half, so it's not like a short film. It's a full-on movie with good effects and blood and laughs. And
but you get to see how they did and all the comedy.
Yeah, and how they did it isn't the real way they did it. It's the comedy part of the movie.
That's funny. I like that. That's a smart
or to my knowledge, it's not. I'm sure they're acting. I mean, I don't think people were really throwing up on set, but they did. One of the things I read, they did say one of the guys really was drunk on set.
Wow.
So, but it's a fun, if you like zombies and you like comedy and you like zombie comedies, then One Cut of the Dead is a nice little addition. It might go into one of my favorite movies this year because it's that entertaining and fun and clever. But RLJE Films is putting it out along with Shudder. So if you have Shudder, the streaming horror service, it might be on there to watch. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know their names all over this. It says it right there on the cover, Shudder. So if you can check it out. It came out this week, Blu-ray, DVD. And it's got this nice hard still book edition. Where it's like bloody zombie hands on the inside. Nice. It's kind of fun.
That's pretty cool.
So check it out.
That sounds fun. I'll watch it.
One Cut of the Dead, available now.
I will watch it later. All right. Next on our list, let's see. We are going to talk about
some movies.
Let's talk about this one. So this was a new release on Disney, right? It's on Disney.
It was supposed to be a theatrical release, and then when the Corona hit, it was one of the first ones that Disney jumped ahead of it and said, we're going to put it on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Probably a smart idea from a standpoint of, I don't know if they were sure if it was going to be a success.
Yeah.
But it's also, I hope I'm wrong, but it's also kind of a nail in the coffin of the unlikelihood to get a franchise. Because I just don't know how you can recuperate $100-something million budget on Disney Plus streaming service. I could be wrong. I don't know the marketing and how that works behind the scenes.
Don't know. So we're talking about the movie Artemis Fowl,
which I've heard of for years, and I honestly thought it was an anamorphic storyline with like an actual fowl that was running around doing something like a spy.
No idea. I just knew it was a series of books.
Yeah, I did too, but that's what I thought it was.
Yeah, so that's the movie we will now speak on. So it's on Disney Plus now. You can go watch it. It has your man crush,
Colin Farrell.
It also has a bunch of cool people, man. It has Josh Gad. It has the beautiful big man. What is his name?
Beautiful big man.
Yeah. Who I was like, who is this guy? I know who he is.
You're talking about the butler?
Yes, but he's not a butler.
Well, his name is
Butler.
It's
where is
a
he?
Nigerian type name. Nonso Anozie.
Nonso Anozie. I love this dude.
He's such a great actor.
And I'm like, man, where do I know this dude? He is like so big, but he has such a kind, pretty face.
He's like a Shakespearean actor and has won all kinds of awards.
And then you told me he was in that vampire show with Jonathan Rhys Meyers. That's where I know him. But he is like this ginormous man, but he has such just like a cute face. Yeah, gentle giant mentality. Love him. I don't understand why he has the blonde hair and the blue eyes.
Well, I will tell you this. From what I know, that character is supposed to be Euro-Asian.
And is he African American?
And he said part of the reason that character is Euro-Asian in the books from the writer was so that he would be able to easily blend in no matter what adventure they went on.
Where is he from?
But he's from London.
UK. But he's a black
Kenneth
man.
Branagh, who directed this movie, wanted him.
Oh well, I would too.
That's why that's why the character has changed. Now in the book, I'm assuming he had blonde hair and probably had those blue eyes of some sort.
Maybe so.
So they already just stuck with it.
Oh, he was in Cinderella as well.
I told you that.
Okay. Anyways, he's cool. I liked him. I think he was my favorite part. That and Josh Gad because he's narrating.
Josh Gad was funny, and I liked that he had like a weird voice he was using.
Yes.
But so here's the thing: is this movie is getting ripped apart from the critics. It has a horrible. I think it had like a 10% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's doing horrible.
What's its Metascore on here?
And I've seen some different people complain about some stuff that was taken out of the books and this and this. And
yeah, so it's a series of books.
We haven't read the books. It's based on the first book, and then they put in elements of the second book. But I also read that the writer signed off and was fine with the changes. You know, he approved of them.
Yeah.
And this is a book series that was written to be a film franchise because, from my understanding, the rights were sold for the first book before the book actually came out.
Oh, wow.
That's how popular it was. Because it's kind of half Harry Potter, or not half, part Harry Potter, part Spy Kids. What is the other one I told you?
It's like 8 books right now. That's fine.
Huh?
I don't know. It's
I don't remember.
To me, since we haven't read the book series, there were a few things that were a bit confusing. And so I don't know if it's because the merging of two books into one film. That always
That didn't seem to
though.
confuse me as much as like I had a ton of fun with the movie, but there's one specific scene that we both kind of were thrown by.
Like, that doesn't make sense.
Where somebody's doing something that's kind of going against other characters.
Like he's doing like
stealing
bad guy stuff.
Yeah, there's bad guy stuff happening. The two heroes show up, and all of a sudden they're just together.
Yeah, suddenly they're working together.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was a case of because it does make sense later in the film.
Oh, it totally does. It catches up, but you're left wondering for like 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. It made me wonder, like, was something cut out, or were they assuming the audience has read the book? Which is never a good idea, because you're going to have so many people that have never read the books outside of your core audience.
Yeah, and I think maybe you assume your kids read the book, but if you're watching it with them and you have no idea what's happening.
Because it happened, and I looked at them like, did I miss something?
I just made an assumption. Maybe this is why. That's what I mean, that was the only thing.
Yeah, and I jumped in with her because it made sense.
That's the only thing that made sense.
But then once you find out what it was, that's not what it was. And maybe it still was for some element, or maybe that's what they wanted you to think that was why.
Yeah.
But then it was still never addressed once that moment is over of why did you just go along with this? You know, it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
There's a couple of moments like that in the movie.
The other thing I think that threw me off is the little boy supposed to be following in the footsteps of it says criminal mastermind father. So Colin Farrell is Artemis Fowl Sr. and he has a child, Artemis Fowl Jr.
Is he senior?
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
well, we don't know.
We
don't know until you see the movie that he's a criminal mastermind thing that you just blurted out.
I didn't. It says so here.
Yeah, that's it, because you went and researched it, but you just.
Oh, sorry. Young
anyway.
criminal prodigy hunts down secret society to find his missing father. It's in the thing.
Calm down, woman.
So this little boy though just doesn't give me that vibe at all.
Of which vibe?
Of being able to be smart enough to unravel a mystery, to go on an adventure.
Here's where I think
I don't get the vibe from this little boy.
Here's where I think
sweet little boy.
Here's where I think it missed the mark on that. Is I got that vibe, but it's mixed with somebody who doesn't know that's what he is. He doesn't know that he's a prodigy of a crime person or criminal mastermind. So he doesn't know to think that way. So as the movie goes on, it should have shown him more evolving to understanding, oh, this is why. Because we established he was intelligent early on, and we established that he could easily figure things out, but it never really gave us that growth to say, you know, it almost seemed like when it was revealed to him, he immediately knew the answer with no work.
Yeah,
and then, you know, when he finds the one thing, he goes, oh, it's got to be this automatically. It was like there was no effort to figure out the case. We didn't
see the effort.
Yeah.
So you remember in the very, very first Harry Potter, Harry has to go research and figure it out, and he needs his friends to help him figure out. Here it's kind of the same thing. He has a little group of people, but suddenly it's like he just knows.
And that's the other thing is everybody seemed very willing to just say, okay, we'll go with you.
Yeah. Then I don't understand, like, he's like, I need to put on the suit. Like, what does wearing a suit do?
Well, and I think that to me the idea. To me the idea was being like his father, and had he said, I need to put on the suit like my father, maybe I can.
Well, baby, you ain't gonna look nothing like some Colin Farrell.
I know, but maybe if he had put it out there, like, you know, I need to put on the suit so I can be like and think like my father, and then it would say something. But it's one of those movies that, despite what it makes sound like we're talking like we hated it, it's a fun movie.
No, it's cute.
I enjoyed it, and I would watch it again.
I need to watch it again. And I feel like I want to go read the first book to understand.
And what's sad is now that I've seen it, if I go back and watch it, I probably wouldn't even notice those issues because I understand where it's going now. Which is not how a movie should work.
I think that one scene is still an issue.
Yeah, well, it is, but that's not how it should work. It shouldn't fix its problem just by the ending.
Yeah.
It should see that answer was already there in front of you the whole time and you didn't notice it because that's the twist.
Yeah.
But if you go back and watch it, it's just not there, then that's a problem.
Now, what I do like in general is we're in a land of mystical creatures.
Yeah.
You know, that's a thing. So there's fairies. There's what's the thing with the horse?
The centaur.
The centaur. There's, I don't know, creatures that do different things. They have all sorts of weird powers and things. And they're in the human world, but they're hid. That part was kind of cool. I liked all that. So that was cool. And how they made some of the...
You said the judo. It's not the judo guy. Jiu-jitsu.
Sorry. It doesn't matter.
It does matter because now they're thinking the Cowboy will reteach the class.
Okay.
Sorry, something else is going on too. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Keep going.
Okay. Anyways, I liked all that and how they dealt with all of that. And then I like that there's also a use of technology with my mystical creatures. They have this whole station they're working at.
And that's what's funny is I don't know in the book how it's written, but I did like the fairies' wings are not part of their bodies. They're a backpack. And that's actually a very smart filming ideal because that gets rid of having to have the wings all the time or folded up or where do you put them and where a lot of those things have to be clever about putting them in a coat or they fold them up or they just have to be there and that means you have to CGI it for hours at a time and it's kind of a cool twist on those old school characters.
Yeah, for sure. I liked it and I liked how they wove in so there's this technology, like there's command center with all these computers and doodaddies, but then also with Artemis, there's like this whole like physical books and study. And so I like that we're combining books with the technology because I'm a book person. Like we have a whole library of books because we're book people. And apparently movie people too. Yeah, I mean, I like to read books on my phone, but I'd rather I like the way books smell.
I'm the same way with my comics. I
like smelling the paper.
They send me digital books. They send me digital comics to read, and I can't do it. And so I have to have my physical copy of my comic book or my graphic novel or my book in my hand.
Oh my goodness!
Jeez, bless you. You okay down there?
Okay?
That sounded unpleasant.
Bless you.
I have to have them in my hand. I'm not the weirdo like her that's sniffing them.
Oh, I love the way new books smell.
That's not that for me. I just need to physically have it in my hand. And revisit it. Now, in some instances, if I've already read it, then I can read it in digital, but it bothers me. It really annoys me trying to read digitally.
Yeah, well, that's hard sometimes.
I don't understand the Kindles, and I don't understand.
I read books on my phone. I have Kindle. Like I'm reading a book right now.
I have 2 books of digital Kindle type online PDF books that I need to read, and I can't bring myself to do it.
I'll read them for you.
So they're Star Wars books.
I'll read it to you. How about I read aloud and I do characters and voices?
Ooh, fancy.
Yes, because I am well known for my accents. They are so good. They all sound.
Do your impression of a pig for everyone. That's basically every impression she does is that quality.
It's good, isn't it?
You're Chewbacca. Your Chewbacca's like you just hit puberty. Anyway,
what else?
But no, it's a fun little movie. It's not going to work for hardcore fans. The book series, just from what I've read and seen, I can see why people are tearing it apart on some level, but at the same time, for the subject matter, I was interested. I was engaged. Nothing?
Engaged.
Thank you. And I would love to see more adventures because the movie definitely sets up more adventures. But alas, I don't think it'll happen personally. I think this Disney Plus release is going to probably be
I mean, Colin Farrell's only so hot to get some stuff done.
Well, and the problem, too, is this movie was made 2-3 years ago, and it's gone through...
Why is it taking so long?
Well, it's gone through different delays and directors, and then I think it was made in 2018, so the kid that plays Artemis Fowl is probably a lot bigger now in 2 years, because at that age, they grow fast.
For sure.
So, who knows? And now Colin Farrell's playing the Penguin, so he's busy.
What?
He's playing the Penguin in the new Batman movie.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with that. Yeah. He can do it.
With
he can do anything.
Robert Pattinson as Batman and...
Oh, it was that Batman movie.
The guy...
I liked me some Ben Affleck as Batman.
Paul Dano, which I think is the guy you don't like. I think he's playing the Riddler.
Oh, I don't like his little face.
I think he's playing the Riddler.
Sorry. I'm sure you're lovely.
Who is it? Oh, it's not Zazie Beetz. I think it's the other one that's playing Catwoman.
Oh, like me some
Zoe Kravitz, I think.
Oh.
I think she's playing Catwoman.
That's cool. That works for me.
And what's his name? My precious. What is that guy's name? I just went blank. Lord have mercy.
Golem?
Yeah. Anyway, he's playing Alfred.
Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis. He's playing Alfred.
Like real life Andy Serkis?
Yeah, he's playing Alfred.
What? I get to
He's done movies, plenty of movies. You've seen him before. He's in the Marvel movies.
Oh my goodness.
He's in Black Panther. He's Claw.
Oh, I just don't pay attention, don't I?
Come on, lady. Get it together.
All right.
Anyway. Artemis Fowl is on Disney Plus right now.
It's fine to watch. It's a good family movie. Watch it with your kids. Help solve a mystery. Whatever.
Yeah, check it out. If you've read the books and you watch it, then feel free to hit us up and let us know.
Tell us what's different.
Let us know what's changed because we can't discuss it from that side because we haven't read it.
I just think there's some stuff, probably some really important things.
Well, somebody commented that I saw on it, not on my review, but on some other place, and they said there's so much stuff that's taken out.
Yeah.
There were some of the best parts, but you never know.
Well, I just think it's hard, especially when you put 2 books and try to condense it down into one. It just doesn't work correctly. And I understand always like the first movie in a book series is like we got to do a lot of character building. And so probably they don't want to lose their audience with, let me give you the backstory on this person, but you have to.
Yeah.
And sometimes your movie is just to set up the next one. That was like the one with the other series, the book series, the girl, the one where they're trying to get to the different cities. Like that whole first movie was just to set up the next
The one
movie.
that never ended up going anywhere
Yes.
again? Yeah, the one with Jeff Bridges, right, in the library?
I guess so.
That's the one with like the black, part of it's in black and white in the movie.
Oh, no, that's a
You're thinking of
different
everyone?
one. I'm thinking of the one with the girl, and they're divided into the different classes. Like you're the farmer
Divergent?
group. Yeah, Divergent.
They made 3 of those.
I know, but like the first movie was really to just set us up.
And they never made they
I
made
know.
2. They made 2 or 3, but they didn't make
They
the
didn't
last
finish
one.
the last
But
one.
they didn't make the last one because the last one didn't make enough money. So they said, let's make a TV type streaming movie.
And then the girl
and
didn't
she
want to
refused to do it because she signed on to make a feature film.
Well, she should have done it because now she ain't doing nothing.
Well,
is she?
that became one of the. There was some sexual misconduct situation which
Oh,
turned her
Lord.
kind of away from doing projects.
Shailene
From what I-
Woodley. 'Cause
yeah.
she hadn't been doing anything.
She's on TV, so I think she's got a show on somewhere.
See, she should have just done it. Oh,
But-
well.
Anyway, I read a whole article about her. All right, so
Okay,
moving on. Disney
move
Plus,
on,
Artemis
move
Fowl.
on.
So the last
Check
one,
it
the movie
out.
I've actually been looking forward to, and it's funny because it's kind of a revelation movie for you
Yes.
because
you guys.
we've talked about him before. Pete Davidson's new movie, The King of Staten Island. I always want to say The Last King, but that's The Last King of Scotland. So not the same movie.
Different movie.
The King of Staten Island, which is the new Judd Apatow movie with Pete Davidson. Steve Buscemi's in it, Bill Burr, Marissa Tomei. It's got a great cast. And Judd Apatow is known for taking comedians and kind of making them bigger stars with the films. You know, he did it with was it Trainwreck with Amy Schumer, Seth Rogen, Steve
Which is still
Carell.
my favorite. So.
All these people have kind of come together, and of course he's been working with those guys forever. But this one's loosely based on Pete Davidson's real life. And my lovely wife here is not a fan or was not a fan of Pete Davidson, mostly just the way he looks and not necessarily because she didn't really see anything. You hadn't really seen anything he was in.
No, I think the thing that was off-putting to me is how he was dating what's her name?
Ariana Grande
No.
or Kate Beckinsale?
Kate Beckinsale.
The man is a master of the ladies.
That's what threw me off because first of all, Kate Beckinsale ruined her first life with
From Michael Sheen.
Michael Sheen, and I am a Michael Sheen fan.
Oh,
Okay.
you weren't at the time. You didn't know anything about all
But
that.
then she went off with the director, and now she's not even with him. So I'm worried about her poor children.
Well, she's.
And then she was with this dude.
But she's not with him anymore.
I know. And then I'm like, why is this beautiful woman with this dude like this?
Look, you got to stop.
Okay. But then
there's a whole.
I saw that other movie.
Yeah. Which one?
The other one we watched.
Oh,
with
Big
him.
Time Adolescence.
Yeah. Then that got me in the feels a little bit. I'm like, maybe he's not too bad.
Yeah.
And then you told me this movie's kind of based on his life
Yeah,
and the trauma.
Yeah, if you don't know, his dad was a firefighter that died in 9/11.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot not like him now.
So this new movie is loosely based on that stuff, but they took the 9/11 aspect out of it because they felt that is an event in itself, and the heaviness of it would weigh too much on the movie and be like, you can't just discard 9/11 situation. There's got to be more to it. So
yeah,
he's still a firefighter that dies in the line of duty.
Yeah, duty.
I know you were going to do that. That's why I paused. So we're dealing with that. And so this is yet another movie that he's carrying essentially as the lead himself.
Yeah.
And before I say anything, knowing he was slowly starting to grow on you in that last
slowly
one.
growing on me like a little fungus.
She was sold to see the movie because Marissa Tomei was involved.
Oh, I'll watch anything with my cousin Vinny.
And had I not been a fan of his, I would have been sold because Steve Buscemi was involved.
Yes.
So, and I like Bill Burr too. His show Efforts for Family. He was in The Mandalorian. He's done so many different things. He's such a funny comedian. But what did you think of the film?
Y'all, I really like this movie. It's good. It got me in the feels. I laughed. I cried. I was all over the place. And his big teeth didn't bother me because I don't think he has big teeth. I think he just has a big mouth.
He does. It's like your eyes.
Yes, so I can't hate someone for that.
The reason
That's
you
dumb.
thought he had big teeth and had an issue with him is because you didn't agree with who he was dating.
Yes.
And you couldn't understand it, so you attacked him for it.
Yes, because they didn't
You tell him you're sorry.
I'm sorry,
All right.
Pete Davidson. You are funny. And you're a pretty good actor, too.
I'll have to admit, you know, he's been on Saturday Night Live for quite a while now, and he's funny, but he's... I think he's really grown into his own as a leading man, because he's not the kind of looking guy that stereotypically you think is the leading man look. You know, covered in the random tattoos, because all those tattoos are real.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So random tattoos.
They are random.
And
but I'm sure they're not
his look, he's got that stoner vibe, and I think he actually is. And so everything you see on his camera is really what you're getting.
Yeah.
But he's funny, but he's kind of stands out. But Big Time Adolescence and this, I think, have really shown that he's a good dramatic actor.
Yeah, he's really good.
You know, and this movie, the comedy in this movie for me, it was real life. They're not jokes. It's laughs of circumstance.
Yeah.
So like a moment happens and you laugh at it because it's just funny, or because there's a silly character, but it's not a matter of let's try to write a joke. You know.
Yeah. No, I think it's just his life and things that happen in life, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. But that's how life is. And we find out that because of the whole thing that happened with his dad, I don't think he really dealt with it, and he was little.
No, and he's talked about that in real life. He thinks that all of the issues he's had till now and the issues he still has is still from the death of his dad.
Yeah, it's traumatic. I mean, and there's one point where that one guy's like, thank you for your sacrifice.
Yeah.
And he's like, I didn't do nothing. He's like, yeah, you did. Because
he's referring to you gave your dad up.
Yeah, you gave your dad.
That's the movie you cried.
I was like,
and what I loved about that scene is if you blink, you're gonna miss it. They didn't try to force the tears.
No,
it's a guy coming out of the shower who's a random character. You don't ever see him again.
You never see him again.
I don't know if you saw him before that, did
No,
he?
and you're like, he's like, I knew your dad.
And he's just like, oh, and he's like,
okay, cool.
Thanks for your sacrifice. He's like, I didn't do anything. He's like, well, thank you. And then he just leaves, and that's the whole scene.
And I'm like, oh my gosh.
And there's never a reflecting moment that goes back that he really understands. I mean, he does later in the movie, he understands it, but we don't reverse that. So if you're not really paying attention to what he's talking about, you'll miss it. But that's how life is. People say things, and you miss it, and sometimes later on you're like, holy crap, that's what they meant.
And then there's another, to me, very poignant scene where he rides along with some firefighters, and he's just there watching as they work, but like the building's exploding and stuff, and they're still going in, and he looks like, oh my gosh, what the hell? And the captain's like, yeah, this is it. I mean, and I told you, I'm like, that is a crazy job that you will willingly run into a burning building.
That whole scene is the most important parts of that is not the building and what they're doing. It's the looks on his faces. Because he goes through about 15 emotions.
Yeah.
And the first one is fear. The first one was like, oh my God, and like, why would you do this? And then there's that one moment, I don't know if you caught it, I'm sure you did, where his eyes kind of light up.
Yeah.
And he starts realizing, holy crap, my dad saved people doing this. That's who he was.
Yeah. Not
just the picture on the mantle and the dead guy, you know. And there's even another moment where the firemen start telling him real stories about his dad on coke. And he's like, they're like, don't talk about things. He's like, no, I need to hear. All my mom does is say how great he is.
Yes, and I think that was the other thing that I thought was so important, that as people, we tend to do that. We tend to just say, oh, you know, they were but I think it's important, especially for children, to really know who the person was.
Yeah, and it's not about saying his faults.
No.
They were telling a story your dad was a cokehead. They were like, no, one night we were all coked up and he did this, and they're laughing, and it's funny jokes. It's not like people that are popping up and trying to blast somebody's criminal record and this and that.
No.
It's not about that. You need to
let people know who you really were.
Yeah, because if you put people on a pedestal and that's all they know,
that's hard for kids.
More heartbreaking when they find out even a mild truth might be wrong.
Well, and I think for him, his mom and he were living in the shadow of his dad because there was like a shrine in their house, literally.
And she was so good in the movie too. And
then he's like, why didn't you tell me? So I think for a child, that's hard when that is who you think you have to live up to.
Yeah.
Instead of just telling them the truth. And, they have a conversation. She's like, well, I didn't want you to think anything bad. He's like, no, I just wanted to know he's a real person.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's even one moment it's like, you never say anything about him. You never talk about missing him. And he's just like, I'm his dad. And that's like the first time in the whole movie he talks about actually listening.
That got me too.
And she's like, yeah. And that's kind of the extent of the connection at that moment. And they don't have a bad connection in the relationship. It's more about, there is a great moment, which I thought was a little harsh, where she's finally moved on. She's so good. She has finally found her moment to move on. And it was through somebody else, but because of her moving on, it forced him to find himself. And the other character, Bill Burr, who is hilariously brought into his life, is forced to do the same because he's dealing with his own crap.
Yes.
And so you're dealing with a series of characters all centered on Davidson's character, but are all lost. Yeah. On some level, and each other kind of helps not just find each other in a cliche, but find their path. That this person's more than people say they are, and this person can be more than they think they can be, and this person is allowed to live despite what's going on. Yeah, of course. You know? And I think that's the thing is people get stuck. Yeah. And they don't move forward. And I've been there, and I had, a tragedy early on when I was a young adult, and it was hard to move forward and think, I can't deal with this anymore, and the option was either to shut down or move on. Yep. And eventually it's hard to do, but sometimes you got to just move on and say, look, I can't deal with this. I need to have my time in my closet crying, dealing with everything. But then you got other people that are relying on you. You got life. You're still got to live your life. And most people deal with that stuff and they stop living because of something else that happened that they can't control. Yeah. Oh, well. Are you shopping? Yeah, I am. Before I forget. Where are you shopping? Because it's Father's Day. Who cares about Father's Day? We ain't got no money. I care. I got a father. What? When did that happen? You found him? Anyway, so you should check out King of Staten Island. It's available now to rent on Amazon. Prime? Yeah, Amazon Prime. And it's another one that's a $20 one, but it's because it's an early access. So if you don't know, there's a difference when you look at a movie. I don't want you to be shocked. When you go to rent a movie, there's a difference between the early access and digital. So when you see streaming or digital, that means the movie is already on Blu-ray or DVD, and this is the digital version. And those are usually $5.99, $6.99. If it's early release, that means it should have been a theatrical release or it's in theaters. And that's why you're paying the $20. We paid the $20. It was not a free screening as usual. We paid the $20 to see it. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. I did. I really did. I'm surprised. And I was happy, so happy that Steve Buscemi actually had a big pivotal role in the movie. Yeah, he was important. Because I was afraid it was going to be a small cameo. But he has some very important moments, But there is some laughs. It's not just all a downer. Yeah, it's good. So definitely check it out. There you go. What else you got? Anything? That's it. That's it? All right. We still have I left my SpongeBob contest going up. So if you want a copy of the SpongeBob Bikini Bottom something or other, go to our website and check it out. There's going to be another contest going up soon for a copy of the Gladiator 4K Steelbook Edition with Russell Crowe. Okay. It's an anniversary edition of some sort, so that's going to be going up soon. And there might be a Steelbook edition of the original Friday the 13th going up soon. I'm still working that out. That's pretty cool. You just watch our site for it at HollywoodMatrimony.com. So I guess let me tell you what's coming out on the Blu-ray this week. Tell me what's coming. Well, shockingly enough, Gladiator and Braveheart are both coming to 4K. Mm-hmm. They've both been released on 4K before, but I believe these are both Steelbook editions. And then it's kind of a small week. There's a new DC Lego movie, Shazam, which I need to find because I like the movie. I like Shazam. Shazam. The Three Christs, which I'd wanted to see and I missed out, which is, I got to remember all the names. It's Peter Dinklage, Bradley Whitford, and Walton Goggins. Oh, Goggins. He shows up in everything. I know, he's great. And I like him. He's got some big teeth, too. He does have big teeth. But I like him. And he played, I was watching an interview, an old interview with him, because he played, I think 3 seasons. He played a transsexual on Sons of Anarchy. Okay. And he was a fairly pretty woman. Well, there you go. So... Anyway, what we got coming out on not in the theaters? Not in the theater. Okay, so we're almost there though. The theaters are going to start opening up this month and next month in theory. July, we're ready. So we're almost there. Anyway, what you got, sister? Okay, so some things are coming out on Tuesday, which is interesting. Streaming something called The Marshes. It's some microbiologists deep in the wilds of Australia. Something on streaming as well called Driven. I don't know what this is, but
I'm assuming it's about cars. Oh, picking up a mysterious passenger in the evening goes from working a job to performing a quest. Who knows? Also streaming online is something called Mope about the pornography industry.
Oh.
Don't know, but I'm assuming we're going to end up watching that. Okay, streaming online on Friday, something called You Should Have
New
Left.
Kevin Bacon, Amanda Seyfried.
Yeah.
If you're interested, on our YouTube channel, there is a trailer for it. You can check it out.
Go check that out. Also on Netflix, coming out, something called Feel the Beat. I don't even know anything about this.
You just randomly
something about Broadway and dancers. There you go. Apple TV, there's something called Dads, a humorous documentary celebrating the joys and challenges of parenting in today's world.
What's to hear about no dads?
Coming also streaming online, there's a lot. Roger, a Rasputin-like drifter. It's called The Transcendence.
You're just randomly picking things at this point.
No, I'm reading. Okay, coming out on Prime Video, something called 7500. It has Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Don't know what that's about.
Oh, we have a screening for that. We have a screener for that.
Flight 7500.
Yes, we have. We have a digital screening for that. We'll be talking about that next week.
I like him. Also streaming online, something called Mr. Jones.
Also, which I don't think is showing up on here.
World War II movie.
I believe it is this coming week. We also have Forces of Nature we're going to talk about,
nice.
Which is the new Mel Gibson movie. And Emil Hirsch that we've already seen. We'll be talking about it.
And then lastly, streaming something called Baby Teeth. This is interesting. Drug dealers. I don't know. We'll find out.
Anyway.
There's a lot of stuff to watch, you guys.
Yeah, and there's a few other things that we've got up our sleeves, even though I'm not wearing.
Oh, I'm waiting for that.
Even though I'm not wearing long sleeves. So there's other things on our sleeves.
There you go.
That's pretty much it.
There's a lot.
Tell them what we got, sister.
All right. Thank you so much for watching us on YouTube and Facebook. You can also find us on Instagram at Hollywood Matrimony and on the Twitter at Hollywood Matter, MATR. Don't forget to check out the website, HollywoodMatrimony.com. Go up to the top, hit the little button that says contest so that you can see the free stuff.
That's right. And don't forget, I should be back tomorrow for an all-new episode of Martial Arts Movie Mondays. We are going to try our damnedest to be back for TV Tuesdays, but our grandchild is due that day, so we'll see what happens.
We're going to try.
I don't know what's going to happen, but we should be able to do our show.
We look good to be grandparents, by the way.
Right? But we can't go to the hospital anyway, so it shouldn't deter us from doing a show other than just laziness.
Good.
And then we'll be back Sunday for an all-new episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live, right here on YouTube and right here on the Facebook and right here for all you loving people out there.
There you go.
So it's a hard time out there. We got pandemics and we've got peaceful protesting going, and we know there's non-peaceful protests going. But above all else, just be nice, sit down and talk, listen to other people, be kind to one another, and love one another. That's all we got.
Peace be with you.
If you don't understand something, ask a question.
There you go.
Peace and love. Bye.